Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sajid Lippum, and this is my journey to Medina. So in the last two episodes, I highlighted brotherhood as being a main theme because I received so much help from brothers, and it really showed me how important brotherhood is and how much we can accomplish as a community if we practice the teachings of Islam in regards to brotherhood. Now, naturally, I assumed that since I received so much help from brothers getting to Medina, that once I got to Medina, we would really come together as brothers, and that together we could potentially accomplish so much. We could open institutions, we can teach people about the truth about Islam, and we can start destroying all the misinformation. The possibilities just seem endless. If we just come together, there's just so much we can do. So this was sort of my expectations going into Medina. And in this episode, I have to address this topic, not because I want to, and it's not something I want to dwell upon, but after really thinking about it, I came to the conclusion that I can't give an accurate portrayal of what my experience has been like unless I mention this topic, because it really set the stage for the rest of my stay in Medina. I don't want to mention every single detail about it. I just want to mention it briefly, and then we can move past it, inshallah. So the last episode ended with me going to sleep my first night, settled in my dorm room in Medina. Basically, the next day, I'm in this new country. I don't know the language. I don't have a phone. I don't really know anyone. And I don't know where to get food. I don't know where to get this or that. I'm very, very dependent on all the people around me who have more knowledge in regards to what living in this environment entails. So eventually, us new students, we got together and we left the dorm room and we started walking on campus, sort of exploring it a little bit. So shortly after we left the dorm, we started talking, and a brother, he informed me and he advised me to beware that here in Medina there are people who they call to themselves and they call away from the scholars of Islam. And he was pretty much advising me in particular because he knew that I was a new Muslim. I'd only been Muslim for about 2 years, and that maybe I didn't have anybody to give me such advice. And another brother who was there at the time, the logic he used was basically if someone was sick, they had this really horrible disease that was contagious, you would obviously want to stay away from them. So this was sort of the example that he used to stay away from certain people that they felt were misguided or doing certain things that they disagreed with. That you want to stay away from those people and you want to avoid them because, like the plague, it can infect you if you are around it and you surround yourself with these types of people. So immediately this created a sort of uncomfortable environment because it immediately puts the thought into your head, okay, well, if the situation amongst the people here is sort of split and certain people avoid others because of they're guilty by association or because they do certain things, it's like, okay, well, where does everyone stand, and then where do I stand in everyone else's eyes? Because number one, you don't want to associate with people if they're doing something wrong that could lead you astray or get you into some sort of trouble. And at the same time, you don't want other people treating you as if you're plagued by some deadly disease where they just avoid you and they don't talk to you, especially when you're so far away from home and you're by yourself and you really need people around you to lift you up and to help you out. So this was literally like the situation the following day after we arrived. Now, I mentioned in the last video Brother Ahmed Kamara, and he was really the only person that I knew previous to going to Medina. He was my best friend at the time. And since he was accepted the year before me, he already knew a lot of other students. So the first night that I actually was able to meet back up with him in Medina, he introduced me to a brother, and the brother he introduced me to invited me to a gathering that night. He basically said that a bunch of the Western students were getting together, and I was invited. I could meet some of the other students, and there were senior students there that could give us advice. So immediately this makes me really cautious, and I'm trying to avoid this gathering like the plague. I'm like, oh, jazakallah khair, but I don't really think I'm gonna go. I think I need to just sort of work on studying Arabic and things like that. I don't really want to go. Just basically trying to make excuses so that I didn't go to this gathering. And Ahmed Kamara, he was there and he saw this, so he basically pulled me to the side, and I think he basically knew what was going on, how I felt, and he was very straight up with me, and he was like, look, akhi, You're a grown man. You got invited somewhere. Just go check it out for yourself. You know, if you don't like it, if you feel uncomfortable, if you think that the people there are doing something wrong, then don't go back. You know, you don't have to ever go back. You don't ever have to speak to these people again. But, you know, you're a grown man. You make your own decisions. Go see for yourself. And, you know, don't let other people sit there and manipulate you. And I was like, he is 100% right. You know, I don't know this brother who invited me any better or any less than the brother who told me to beware of other people. You know, I don't know any of these people. So why should I let anybody manipulate me? My Muslim brother invited me somewhere. Let me go check it out. So that's what I did. So later that night, I went to this gathering. I met a lot of other students from the US, from Canada, and there were senior students there, students who graduated. They gave us advice about what to expect, really just shared with us their wisdom in regards to their experience, having graduated, having gone to give da'wah after graduating, and all these different things. So it was a very positive experience for me, and I didn't see anything wrong with it at all. The next day, a lot of us new students, we still didn't have our residence cards. We still had to go do blood work, and we had to fill certain things out and do this and that. So I was around those brothers again. And plus, we all lived in the same hall at the dorms. So at this point, I'm sitting there thinking, man, I went to this gathering last night. Are they going to try to avoid me now? Are they not going to give me salams? So I just addressed the issue. I just sort of told brothers like, hey, you know, I went to this gathering last night with some of the other brothers, and this happened, that happened, and I don't understand why we're supposed to avoid them. Like, can you give me some sort of proof about, like, you know, their beliefs or their practices that's just really justifying us not dealing with them or speaking to them or going to their gatherings? And consistently from one person to the next, the only answer that I really got was that, you know, this is what they were advised from brothers that they trusted from their communities. No one said, oh yeah, they do this specifically wrong and this is why we shouldn't deal with them, and I've talked to them about it, I've advised them, and it was just pretty much they're brothers that I trust and this is what they told me and I'm just following their advice. So I was just basically like, okay, you know, I understand, but I didn't come here to join a gang. I didn't come here to join any clique or group. I just came to seek knowledge, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can. And I don't want brothers like to stop giving me salams or to have beef with me over this stuff. So I just want to be straight up with you guys. Like, if something's wrong, you know, just let me know. Just please be straight up with me. Don't just, you know, just stop giving me salams and stuff like that. And that was basically my stance. I think brothers pretty much respected that. I never really had any issues. And it sort of made me realize, I guess, that being a new Muslim, having embraced Islam, I wasn't really part of a community. You know, my family, they weren't Muslims. I was never really going to one masjid consistently for a long period of time where I was like this member of the community with different people pressuring me to do different things. I read the Quran, I became Muslim. I went to a bunch of different masajid. I lived in Chicago for a while. I lived in different parts of Maryland, and I was just hopping around a lot. So I didn't have what some of these other brothers had in regards to coming from certain communities where people are pressuring them to do certain things, and to the point where if they don't follow their advice, then maybe they'll be sort of excommunicated in a way where people are like not even, you know, speaking to them anymore. Maybe even family members or some of their best friends growing up, because they think that they're astray because they did this or that. So I didn't really have to deal with that, because when I became Muslim, I pretty much lost all my friends, and I was putting myself in a position to lose family members if they didn't like the decisions I was making, which alhamdulillah didn't happen with my family, but it certainly happened with my friends for the most part. So that being the situation, I wasn't about to let a bunch of other people that I didn't even know, you know, pressure me into doing things that I didn't think was right. So that was sort of the situation, and I wanted to resolve it. I wanted us to come together and sort of kill all this tension and whatnot, but it never really happened. So anyways, the brothers, they consistently sort of had gatherings. They had lessons that they would do. They'd have different things here and there. And I went to a couple of them, and it just sort of reached a point where these weekly classes and these different things that they had going on, I just didn't really feel the need to go to them on a consistent basis. You know, like I appreciated brothers inviting me. I appreciated their intentions in trying to help out with things, but in terms of going to like these weekly things and this and that, like I didn't go to Medina for that. I went to Medina to study in the university and to basically do what I wanted beyond that in terms of going to Masjid al-Nabawi, if I could sit with scholars, if I wanted to do this or wanted to do that. I didn't want to have other brothers pressuring me where I was like, okay, I'm going to go to this lesson every week, because if I don't, then these brothers are going to be mad at me, or I'm going to miss out on this opportunity. So eventually I myself, I stopped going to these gatherings, and it wasn't for the reason that I thought that they were misguided or because I was avoiding them for any political reasons. It wasn't really my cup of tea in regards to some of the things that were going on. But at the end of the day, I had enough going on in my own life to where I never felt the need to be this sort of like private investigator, like being all up in other people's business, trying to figure out, okay, what does he believe? What do they do? And should I stay away from them? Should I warn from them? Should I this, that? Like I had things going on in my own life that I was focusing on. And as far as I was concerned, we all came from our countries to learn the deen. We're all on the same team. And I just try to show everyone respect. If I saw a brother, I try to say salams to him, be nice to him, and leave it at that. And I think because I stopped going to a lot of those gatherings, there was also some tension that was created, because I feel like some brothers took it personally, like they were sort of going out of their way to create these opportunities for us to learn and to sit in these lessons, and then for someone like myself to just not take advantage of that and not go to it. Some brothers took it, I think, personally, based on some of the conversations that I had. I basically found myself in a situation where it's like I wasn't hanging out with these brothers all the time and going to everything that they were setting up and doing, so I wasn't as close with them for that reason. Then there were other brothers who I wasn't completely into what they were all into in regards to like going and sitting with scholars and this and that, because I went and I sat with scholars and it was like I didn't even know Arabic at that point. Like I didn't understand what they were saying. They were like maybe giving a detailed explanation of like Sahih Muslim, like the book of divorce or something like that. And I'm like, this is just so far over my head. This is not where I need to be, So it was like, either way, I felt like if I was going to either sit in this group or sit in that group, I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I wasn't doing it for Allah. I was doing it to please the people around me, which I wasn't comfortable with. So, I just sort of did as I pleased after that. And I tried to come up with ways to resolve the tension and the issues between certain groups, and I was unsuccessful in doing that. To fast forward several years later, a lot of the people who were involved in these things, they left. They graduated, or they're not here anymore in Medina. So I don't know, maybe the new students that are coming, they'll do a better job than what we did. But that was my experience, and it really set the tone for the rest of my stay in Medina. It is what it is. I'm not really that much of a social butterfly. There are certain people I really click with, and there are certain people that I don't click with as much. But as far as I'm concerned, we're all brothers, we're all Muslims. We all need to recognize that we're all on the same team. We should all love each other for the sake of Allah and help each other out. And now I'm sure if you ask other brothers about their experience in regards to this, that you probably get all kinds of different answers from people. But the bottom line is, it's not really anything that we need to focus on and gossip about. It's just a reality that I experienced. Alhamdulillah, like I said, I had my own things going on. I was trying to bring my wife there, and then I sort of just dealt with people on an individual basis. I didn't really try to break people up into groups. So for example, Ahmed Kamara, that was like my best friend, so I hung out with him a lot. We were both trying to bring our families at the time, so we were out looking for apartments. There are other brothers I became friends with. And let me just conclude by saying that, some brothers, they sort of let this situation that I'm talking about really overtake their lives. And there's been a lot of drama between people, like Muslim brothers, Muslim students of knowledge, really backbiting each other, refuting each other, getting into fights and things like that. And it's unfortunate, but alhamdulillah, based on what I went through in terms of, like I said, I didn't really join any group. I just tried to be cool with everyone, nice to everyone, and handle my own business. And alhamdulillah, I really avoided a lot of issues, like I never got into fights with anyone. No one ever to my knowledge, was really backbiting me or saying anything about me. If they did, I don't know about it. I didn't hear about it or read about it. So, I mean, that would be my advice to anybody who finds themselves in this sort of situation, because from what I've heard scholars say in regards to this sort of thing is that we're students of knowledge. We should be seeking knowledge. We shouldn't be worried about refuting this guy, talking about that guy. We should just be seeking knowledge, because we don't have knowledge. We should be just learning the basics, and that's what we should focus on. That's what we should learn. And that's how we should spend our time. So that's basically what I tried to do. You can listen to, for example, Sheikh Fawzan. He has a, he's one of the top shiuch in Saudi Arabia. And people ask him about this sort of stuff, about students that are sort of, talking about each other. And he says, to summarize, he basically says, you guys are students of knowledge. Seek knowledge. Seek the basics. Let us deal with these sorts of things. And you guys just focus on what's important for you. And also, if you listen to one of my Sajcast interviews where I interviewed Nick Pelletier and Abdullah Smith, two graduates of Madinah, Abdullah Smith, he says that he went to somebody and he asked them about these sorts of issues, and they said, basically he was told, have you memorized the Quran? Have you read all the books of Hadith? And he hadn't. So the guy's like, well, why are you worried about this? You have bigger problems than this. And I think that's really what we should take away from it. And Allahu Alam. I don't plan on going back to this topic again. I think what I described is sufficient. May Allah forgive me if I said anything that was incorrect. May any of the brothers forgive me if I portrayed anyone inaccurately. But I don't really have anything negative to say about anybody, so I don't think I did. I think everyone had good intentions. I think the brothers who want to sit with the scholars, they have good intentions, because that's obviously a very important thing, is getting authentic, proper knowledge from the scholars, from the people who know this religion. And at the same time, not everyone can do that. Not everyone can sit with the scholars and understand what they're saying when they just became Muslim and now they're in Saudi Arabia. They don't know the language, they don't know anything. Sometimes they need other brothers from their country that they can sit with, that can help them, that can teach them the basics so that they can sit with the scholars. And regardless of your philosophy regarding either one, all of us can make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And regardless of which philosophy you follow, you can be correct in your intentions and in your actions, and you can also be incorrect, and you can go to extremes on either end. So may Allah guide all of us, because in the end, inshallah, we're all brothers, we're all Muslims, we're all on the same team. We all want the true message of Islam to spread to people, for people to know about it, for us to understand it, to implement it as Muslims, as a community, so that inshallah in the hereafter we'll go to Jannah and we'll be rewarded for all of our efforts. So may Allah guide us, and Jazakumullahu khairan for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.